Hey everybody, here with Brian Stevens from the First Party Corporate Office with a business booster on cold calling.
Sweet.
Yeah, cold calling. You know, I think a lot of people are just scared to death to cold call. They are. I know a lot of people are. You know, they're just like, ooh, cold call, cold call. But I watched this guy do it last night. He was in here cold calling. He had a realtor pop in and another loan officer. And one of the things I learned is that if you involve alcohol, it seems to be a little easier.
It does, but it really hurts your motivation.
Anyway, all kidding aside, this guy has got it going on with the cold calling thing. Let me just ask you a few questions about last night, what I saw.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, you had a list from a title company.
That's right.
And that list, was it renters?
Yes.
So, what? I didn't know you can get a list of renters.
Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can actually go online and buy it.
Okay.
The other way is not many title companies do it. It's they take the non-owner rock properties and they use a crisscross system.
Yes.
And then it feeds phone numbers into it. So
and you can get their names through that of the renter.
You get the names of the renters and you get the phone numbers on the renters.
How did you get it last night from a title company?
I did.
So what title company is able to do that functionality for you?
The only one that I know of is North American.
North American. So North American get this.
And the other, if you go ahead and buy the lists, they give you a scrubbed list, and you have to go on the Do Not Call site, and you get very limited numbers there.
Okay.
The thing is, what I've learned is that if you're not selling anything per se, you're not really breaking any of the rules in calling. So you get the unscrubbed list, you get a larger number of people.
Yeah.
And you don't generally get more pissed off people if you're getting the unscrubbed list. So
okay.
So if you're not selling anything and you're just providing information, you're not doing anything wrong.
Okay,
and people generally tend to kind of accept it the same way from the scrubbed and unscrubbed lists.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. That's really good to know. And what I really dug about what you did last night was really, really cool was your approach with these guys on the phone. The approach he had with this renter was, now why don't you go ahead and tell him what your opening line is, because the opening line really impressed me. That was awesome.
I have no idea what I said.
Well, I'll remind him. In fact, I've got a little video snippet that I'm going to put in here of it, the actual call. And what you opened with is you said you were calling renters in the area to see if they were aware of the city down payment assistance programs that were available to them for purchasing.
Yeah, the only thing I try to do now is just try to open a dialogue. If you can get a dialogue going with people, the longer it goes on, the more likely you are to start talking about real estate. So I don't really have a script that I go by. I just try to see where the conversation takes you. Starting with the city of Vacaville, not a lot of people can do it, but if you can start a dialogue about real estate there, then you have an opportunity to get somebody in for a loan.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was like his first call of the night, first or second call of the night, and man, it didn't seem like it was going to amount to anything in the beginning.
It didn't.
But then you just kept talking to the guy. I mean, a lot of people would have just quit about a few seconds into this call, but you kept going with him, and then what wound up happening?
I'm meeting him today at noon. He's on disability right now because he's just getting over cancer.
Right.
But he's going back to Alza where he gets a reasonable income there.
Yeah.
We'll just see where it takes us. I mean, we got one of the legs of a loan out of the way because I know he's going to make enough to qualify for something.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't have 400 credit scores and everything else will be okay.
Yeah. Well, speaking of credit scores, let's talk about a couple of the other deals you picked up recently doing this.
I did.
Because you've done this in the past 2 or 3 times you've done this, you've pretty much gotten a deal or a lead every single time, right?
Yeah, I apped somebody yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
They had 700 credit scores, a modest income, but they're going to be with the city, and they will work with the city program. They'll be able to buy a $350,000 house.
There you go.
And they're going to buy a $350,000 house. They're a good lead.
There you go. And you had somebody even before that, correct?
Yeah, I've probably had 10 people come in, and I probably had about 3 of those pan out.
Okay.
But my calling consists of about honestly an hour a night.
Yeah. So an hour's worth of energy here results in potentially $3,000-$4,000 commission.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like you said. It's like when you get in, you just got to make sure you're doing the call. Right. So I guess a couple of your buddies, they kind of wound up just doing the...
We need to recoup the beer costs from doing this. Yeah, last night became more about the beer than it did the cold calling. But that's where our motivation was. Our motivation was more about the beer and less about the calling.
Yeah.
But
But you got yours out of the way.
I got mine out of the way early.
You got yours out of the way, and you actually got a deal out of it.
Maybe. There's a good chance of it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I got a motivated person, so.
So I'm telling you that I think a lot of the reluctance that they have, Brian, or everybody has with cold calling, is that initial opening dialogue. And I think your dialogue last night, the one that I saw, was just stellar. And I am going to put it into this tape. I'm going to stick it in, so they're going to see the actual dialogue that you did. But any advice you'd give on that, real quick?
Yeah, have a couple drinks first to mellow yourself out.
Take the edge off.
You're going to screw up your first 3 or 4 calls.
Don't worry about it.
And I think the issue is people feel like they're calling and they're asking for a handout. If you're just providing, if you feel like you're doing something that's going to help the people out,
yeah,
I think it's a little bit easier to call.
Do you find calling the renters is more effective for you?
Yes, right. Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to call everybody under the sun, and rich people are generally nicer than poor people. So
Okay.
if you're going to cold call, get a list out in Blackhawk, not out in Vallejo.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay. But you're feeling that calling the renters is a little more effective right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's immediate gratification because if you have a renter, you have a non-contingent buyer,
Right.
and right now in this market, that's the only thing that's going to get you a paycheck is
Right.
a non-contingent buyer.
Right.
The other thing is if you get a buyer and you qualify them, you have a qualified person that you can give to one of your real estate agents. It's a golden ticket. I mean,
Yay.
you can walk into any real estate office with a qualified buyer, and you could get anybody's here, a top producer, anyone who you're trying to get. You have a qualified buyer, you're done.
That is outstanding, man.
Yeah.
That is outstanding. Plus, with today's market, it's kind of since the values are falling and everybody knows it, these
Right.
renters are probably kind of got their ear to the ground about that right now anyway.
Well, yeah, and if you think about it, people are saying, that the market's bad, there's no deals out there. Well, because the market's bad, it's going to perk up the ears of renters, and they're going to see the opportunity to
Yeah.
possibly buy now.
Yeah,
So what's bad
yeah.
for somebody could be good for another person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. I'm going to put a little snippets of what he did last night right behind this so you can get a feel for it. But I'm telling you, man, if you got nothing going on, watch, and you watch this thing, get some tips from it, just go for it. You got nothing to lose.
And come down at night. Misery loves company. If it's raining outside, we're all under the same roof.
So you
it
don't
makes
mind-
it,
you don't
it makes
mind
it
if people
easier.
come in and
Shit,
join
no,
and hang out?
absolutely not.
There
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely not.
Right on. Thanks, Brian.
No problem.
Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Go get him, guys.
Later.
Later.
Do what?
Another call.
You want to call one right now?
Yeah.
All right. We'll stay away from the Vasquezes. I have a tendency to speak German to them.
Okay.
I'm going to keep them off guard.
I'm going to turn it off while you dial.
Hey, Robert, this is Brian Stevens at First Priority in Fairfield. And what I'm doing is I'm calling on local renters right now to see if they're interested in working with the City of Vacaville or the City of Fairfield's down payment assistance programs. Right now, for renters, there's quite a bit of funds that are available to help people out to buy a property. This is really fucking me up. And right now, for renters, it's a pretty unique opportunity. A couple years ago, we couldn't really have this conversation. But now, a lot of people are renting with property values dropping and sellers willing to concede closing costs and things of that nature. It's a unique opportunity. And have you thought about this lately?